The bottom line is being female in a medical setting can mean receiving less accurate diagnosis, less effective treatment, and less attentive care because the entire system has been based on male-centered care. This isn't just convenient, it's life-threatening. So after I spoke to Amy, I was looking on the internet and Googling, like, how common is this? And I found three literally recent examples of severe issues with women.
What it ended up being was 14 contact lenses. Right. 14, 1 4, which sounds insane, right? Because it's like, how do you not know you didn't take your contact out? Well, I can tell you exactly how I didn't know. Right. Like, I've been a daily contact lens wearer for a long time, like for a decade. Prior to that.
Welcome to Amy Liz Harrison's podcast, Eternally Amy, a mum of eight's journey from jail to joy, a Gen Xer who overcame her struggle with alcohol to become a best-selling author and mental health advocate. She shares stories of hope and offers ideas for others struggling with mental health challenges. One thing is for sure, you'll leave with something to chew on. And now, here's your host, Amy Liz Harrison.
Well, hi, I'm Amy Liz Harrison. I'm here with Dr. Sarah. What a gift she is to me. And we're doing another episode of the Boozeless Book Club. And here is the book that we read. It is called Invisible Women, Data Bias in a World Designed for Men. And it's by Caroline Criado Perez. I think I said that right, Criado. Anyway, we both are going to have a lot to chat about this book in regards to this book. But what sparked the idea to try and look for a book on feminism, maybe in my mind, was an experience that I had about a month and a half ago when I finally got some resolve to a medical issue that I'd been having. So the sort of overlying umbrella, the brief nutshell version is for 2 years, I had an eye condition. And essentially what it was doing, I just had one eye that was just weeping like all the time. And I just thought, what is this? Is this menopause? Is this, some kind of a weird allergy? I knew it wasn't pink eye, but still I got rid of all my makeup and bought new makeup like 5, 6, 7, 8 times. And every eye doctor that I went to, how should I say this? So they're all ophthalmologists. So they weren't, just sort of Joe's eye exams type optometrists. They were actual doctors. Yes. And I saw 2 cornea specialists. And nobody could really figure out what was wrong. I couldn't get a correct diagnosis. It was always sort of like, well, this is what we think you have. And so they were treating it as such. So I had a bunch of eye drops. I was taking really strict regimens of eye drops on an hourly cycle. And let me just tell you that, it's funny. It doesn't sound like a big deal. Like, it really doesn't. But when you're living something like that, where you actually have to attend to a body part every single hour without fail, and for like lackluster results. Like, I had a little relief at times from this eye just pouring out gross stuff, but really it wasn't enough to sort of justify the effort, if that makes sense. So the quality of life that I was facing was just not good. I canceled a bunch of things where I knew I had to get really close to people and they'd be looking at me. And I tried to explain all of these things to the doctors who I saw. And I really was clearly in quite a bit of distress. And I also vocalized that.
Yes.
And they all just kind of were like, wow, yeah, that sounds like a bummer. And while I appreciated the sympathy, I really never made any headway. So finally, I applied to the Mayo Clinic. I went down there and I got fixed, but I only got fixed when we were about to be sent out the door with more drugs. And my husband said to the doctor, "Can you be 100% sure there's nothing in her eye causing this?" And while they had sort of looked in my eye before, they had flipped my eyelid up and kind of looked around, the doctor at the Mayo Clinic said, "Well, I can't be 100% sure. She's seen all these ophthalmologists." And I don't know if he just assumed that someone else had looked in my eye or what. But bottom line is, he didn't want to say no. Yes, I think I can promise you it's 100% not something in her eye, because he hadn't checked. So he checked, and there were a bunch of foreign objects in my eye, let's say. And I could not believe it. First of all, I was so relieved to get that instant fix. The whole thing was like death by 1,000 paper cuts. So I was so relieved when that was over that I was like, "Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh, I'm cured." And then as the week progressed and I came home and was throwing out all my eye drops and everything, I just was like, why did it take so long? And why did nothing happen until my husband stepped in and said, "Can you be sure there's no foreign bodies in her eyes?"
Oh my God.
And yeah, and so I started talking this through with Dr. Sarah, and it became something that was really bothering me. And I ended up, I wrote the Mayo Clinic and I told them about this experience, and just kind of, I wanted to make people more aware. Well, come to find out, as we were researching kind of a different book to read for this month, and that was what was on my brain, was women and the medical community, and women and all sorts of other things that I didn't even know about until I started reading this book. And it was a shock to me. And that it's 2026. And here we are, still living in very much a man's world. That was just a surprise.
Right.
And I really had no idea how many things were built for a man's world and are still that way.
Right.
It was surprising.
Yes.
So what I would love to do, Dr. Sarah, is hear from you and hear what you kind of looked into after we started reading this.
I don't know, to the people that are listening, the magnitude of Amy's issue. She's sounding so gracious about it, but first of all, the chronicity. 2 years of having an issue with your eye, it's like the discomfort, it was chronic. And also seeing these specialists and feeling dismissed. And so we were going to focus. This was so mind-boggling to me. And I had also been going to a cardiologist, which we're going to talk about. And two arenas, it seems like, in the medical community that are really dismissed with women are cardiology issues and pain and discomfort issues, which is mind-blowing. Because when you think about it, because we have, monthly pain, we give birth to people. Those are so often, and I wanted to just read a quick quote. The bottom line is, being female in a medical setting can mean receiving less accurate diagnosis, less effective treatment, and less attentive care, because the entire system has been based on male-centered care. This isn't just convenient, it's life-threatening. So after I spoke to Amy, I was looking on the internet and Googling, like, how common is this? And I found 3 literally recent examples of severe issues with women. One was a woman after a baby was starting to have pain, and she was told that it was from holding her baby, which I don't even know what that meant.
What?
Yeah, it was like, oh no, you're holding your baby wrong or something. She had 6 blood clots, almost died. Another woman sent home because she was told that it was anxiety, and she felt as though it was a heart issue. And we're going to get into this because one of the things about heart issues is one of the main symptoms for men having a heart attack is chest pain, but for women, and you would know a lot more about this, it's not. And so women are often misdiagnosed as just having anxiety and panic. And I mean, there's so many examples on the internet. And one bottom line that a writer said is very often things are dismissed as it's busy mom stress. And so someone had thyroid cancer, told it was busy mom stress, all these other things. And another thing, and I don't know if we talked about this, I recently saw an interview with Katie Couric and this doctor she talks to a lot, Dr. Mary Claire Haver, who she's a specialist in menopause. Did you see this? And
I think I did. I love her, Mary Claire Haver. Yeah.
And she talked about her training at the emergency room. And when she said she had a chart she didn't understand, she was seeing a woman in her 40s for basically perimenopause symptoms. And she went to her supervisor and said, oh, I was just wondering what this meant. And it was WW, and it was whiny women. So a lot of the male doctors, if they couldn't figure out what was wrong with a woman, they'd put WWW, white whiny woman, or BWW, black woman. I mean, it's just so insane. And I also want to say, before we get really into this, is I was thinking, like, Amy and I are both people that, like, take responsibility, take action steps. I would not consider us like whiners or victims or anything like that. So sometimes when we talk about patriarchy, or when you see women talking about feminism or patriarchy, you know, some people get turned off and are like, oh, you know, they're just being victimized. And that's not what this is about at all. Really, this is about just, you know, I often say with addicts, like just looking at the facts. So this book was done with a bunch of research, assessing lots of research. And we're just trying to kind of say to you guys, you know, that it's something to think about, especially if you have any of these issues, because it can be dangerous. And I was going to talk about the codependency piece at the end, and that we really have to trust ourselves when we believe that there's a medical issue, because the medical community is still really gender biased. And that's what we're really looking at, that you can have an issue for years and really talented and skilled doctors can say, oh, no, it's nothing. And yet you've got a bunch of contacts and debris in your eye and you're suffering. So anyways, I just wanted to give that kind of overview. What are your thoughts?
No, thank you so much. Yeah, what you said, 1,000% true, totally relate to it. And I like to think, because I work really hard at it,
Yes.
I like to think that I'm a decent communicator.
Yes.
That's not always true. But I like to also think that I have a somewhat reasonable, as a patient, that I'm a somewhat reasonable patient. Even if people have sent me, you know, Google articles or whatever on different conditions,
Right.
I always want to give physicians the respect that they are due.
Yes.
And so, and you know, I'm Gen X. I was raised to totally trust Western medicine at all costs. And I still largely am that way, but I now see that physicians are humans. They miss things, they're busy and all of that. So, that disclaimer aside,
Right.
none of us are perfect, but oh my gosh, what I have not learned over the past few years, coupled with my heart issues and now having this example of this eye thing about advocating for myself. Oh my goodness. I just, prior to this, really did not know that that was my job. And that might sound really silly, but I'm 49 and I've been blessed with great health for most of my life. And so when I started having health issues, I really just didn't know that, like, oh, I'm in charge of this thing. That means if I don't feel like I'm getting the care that I need or the answers that I need, or I'm not being kind of mutually human to human respected, that I have agency in where I go and who I give my money to. And because that's one of the things that I started thinking about after this eye thing is, oh my gosh, the amount of co-pays that I've paid these people, the amount of wasted time, even parking and parking structures and all that. Yeah, I'm so grateful I have access to medical care. However, when I started really thinking about, the amount of all of that,
Right.
I was pretty upset. And I just thought, I think it's pretty easy for a male physician to hear a woman talk about symptoms, and it's like, oh, well, yeah, your eye's watering. And without any regard for, and I explained it, I'm like, hey, I am often public speaking, I'm on Zoom or other camera a lot of times, and people are going to look at me and wonder why,
Right.
What is happening to my eye? Like I started having this ptosis where my eyelid was kind of drooping, like
Right.
Bell's palsy, but it was sort of like nobody understood or really was like, I'm going to help you. This is
Right.
clearly really difficult for you and affecting your quality of life. I couldn't see to drive my kids.
Yeah.
I really was suffering. Like,
I
and
know.
as a mom of 8, I do a lot of driving. And so I just felt like the safety piece, even,
Yes.
was something that I would just highlight at every visit. And even that was sort of like, well, maybe we'll just order you some new glasses and it was like, no, you're not hearing me. I need to get to the root of the problem. Like I need
Yes.
to get to the root of the issue.
Right.
And I found that what was happening, you said something really interesting, Dr. Sarah, that I wanted to loop back to, which was so like, that's it. You said, if they couldn't figure out what was wrong, that's when the classifications came with the WW, the whining woman or whatever.
Right.
It's like, how interesting that, oh, so it was because you couldn't figure it out. So then it's not you, like as a doctor, as a physician, it's not your fault, certainly not. It's just that she's whiny. And I just thought that was a really interesting point because I've definitely, I've seen that. I've seen that
Yes.
in the past decade. Like, oh, well, if I don't know what it is, well, okay, well, hope it gets better. No like wherewithal, no fight in them to like, let me help you get to the bottom of this. I can see you're motivated. I can see you're
Yes.
suffering. And it's disturbing.
It's super disturbing. And it's such a great point. I was talking to someone recently about this for some reason because they went to the doctor and the doctor didn't have the answer. And then it came back on them. And we were discussing this idea of why is it? I don't know if I've ever had a doctor say, wow, I just don't know what this is. And I'm going to ask a colleague, or maybe you should go to this person. There's something about the ego or the narcissism or the grandiosity or whatever, maybe it's like a real hard thing for them to even say those words. But instead, if they don't have the answer, it now becomes it's about the patient's psychology. And that's what's so disturbing. I mean, I want to ask you about the heart stuff, because I also wanted to tell this short heart story about getting AFib and going through the process of getting on meds and then needing to get an ablation and then follow up. And there were numerous times over the last, since October, 6 months or whatever, that my heart rate skyrocketed. My sweetheart was nervous. Should we go to an emergency room? Should we not? A few times we called the doctor. He didn't even respond to us. The surgeon never even responded to the 911 call. And we had to call the regular cardiologist, which is fascinating because I asked him the following Monday why he didn't respond, and he said he was sick. And I'm like, but why wasn't someone else on call? Like, it's so weird because they give you these answers and then you're like kind of dumbfounded, but you don't follow up. Like, even though it doesn't even make sense, I don't even believe he was sick. But my point is, it got so bad that I said to my sweetheart, can you reach out to the heart doctor? And he did. He sent a long email with a bunch of questions, and the cardiologist called him that evening. They had a long conversation. I got questions answered that I had asked a bunch of times and was just kind of dismissed. And when I went in for my last appointment, post the phone call with the boyfriend, I am not kidding you, I was treated differently. He was much more engaging with me. He seemed to listen more. It was fascinating. And then I said to Amy, when I left, he said, say hi to your boyfriend for me, which is so bizarre. It's like, my boyfriend isn't the patient. Anyway,
Right?
it's so strange. I don't know what it is. I mean, there could be 1,000 reasons for it, their own discomfort with women. I mean, who knows? But when you first went to a cardiologist, I did want to ask you this. Did you have an experience where you felt like they got in there, they validated it, got correctly diagnosed, or did you go through phases of like a misdiagnosis? I can't remember. Because you had serious heart issues.
Yeah. So mine was a little bit different because I was on an international trip and I was having symptoms,
right.
but I had no idea that those symptoms were heart or cardiac
Heart-related.
symptoms at all. You know, growing up, just like they always show you in health class, I mean, it's like anything that's like a heart attack or any kind of a heart thing, it's like they show a picture and a video of an old man clutching his chest and
Yes.
like, you know, I'm having chest pain.
Right.
And, you know, and so, and to this day, and I'm 49, I'm not like 20, but to this day, if I go to a new cardiologist or if I see somebody in that
Yes.
field, they're like, oh, you're the wrong gender and you're too young.
Right.
And while I get why they say that, it's not true. It's just not true.
It's not relevant.
It's not relevant.
Well,
It's
so
not. And
dismissive.
it's so dismissive. And yeah. And so for me, I think I called my regular GP back in the day when I was having these heart issues and I was on this international trip. I called him, I spoke to him, and this is like a concierge doctor. It's not
Yes.
some random person. And I spoke to him and I said, you know, I think I just need some antibiotics. Here are my symptoms. I think maybe I'm jet lagged. I think my lungs, I really can't breathe very well. It feels like someone is sitting on my chest when I lay down. And I said, I think maybe it's because there's a lot of, smokers in Europe. Like, I didn't even consider that it could be heart issues.
Right.
And so he said to me on the phone, yeah, okay, well, yeah, come and see me when you're back and I'll prescribe you a Z pack or whatever. And because I don't know, it was weird. It was like because I was meant like I came at it from sort of a nonchalant kind of
Yep.
perspective. He met that and was like, oh, yeah, just come see me when you get back, kind of thing. And then there's something in me that, looking back on it, I'm like, God, what is that people pleaser in me that's like, I don't want to bother you. And it's like, this is a concierge doctor. I
Yes.
pay for that service.
Yes.
I was clearly very ill and I didn't even know how ill I was. But it was almost like,
Yes.
okay, well, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to assume in his mind, he was like, well, she doesn't seem too stressed out about this. So it's probably just whatever and it's fine. And so, he wrote it off. I wrote it off. I was almost asking for confirmation that I was fine. And he was like giving that to me because what can he do? I mean, I'm there, he's here. So I think it was just this. I remember Googling on the trip, what could these symptoms be? And the first thing that popped up was like cardiovascular. And I was like, well, that's not it.
But I mean, pressure on your chest, like that
Yeah.
feeling. I mean, and shortness of breath, those are like the top, because I know a zillion symptoms now. Those are the
Yes.
top symptoms. I know.
Yes.
It's so interesting. I mean, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we can have 1,000 theories about it, but what you mentioned before, I think is a really interesting piece to discuss too, which is the feelings that happen, which is often rage. I mean, when we were talking about this and and after these things get resolved, then the rage comes or the like,
Yeah.
what the hell is going on, or the anger. And it
Yeah.
reminded me of being in college. And I grew up with 4 brothers, a dominating father, a kind of invisible mother. And I never thought twice about it. And I'm in this class on like feminist psychology or something. And I remember having this moment of like, oh my God, I've been dismissed my whole life. I mean,
Yeah.
and I've been given different rules and different expectations and treated differently. And I had this rage. It was like like suddenly woke up. And I do think this happens to women maybe a lot sooner now because women are more aware, but I was in my 20s. And that lasted for a while. Just this rage about patriarchy in general, let alone like something specific. But I think it is like, it's like you don't want to get stuck in rage, but you also want to have some spaciousness to experience it, because it's a really normal response to have anger when you don't feel listened to, when you feel
Right.
dismissed, when you don't feel valued, when you're not feeling respected. And when you realize it's a life-threatening issue ultimately, I mean, that's intense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very intense.
Yeah. And I think that when someone isn't willing to partner with you and go the distance and they're
Yes.
going to just be dismissive,
Yes.
it's like I've seen both sides now. When I had been a little more dismissive with my heart issues that I had no idea were heart issues, right? And then when I was very borderline pushy, like
Yes.
very vocal about this is really causing me distress with my eye, both times I really did not feel listened to.
Yes.
And so that's really, I think, for me personally concerning, because now I'm in fear that the next time something comes along, I won't be listened to and I won't be properly diagnosed on a timeline that is acceptable. Like 2 years is not acceptable, even
No.
for something that's not life threatening. Like, that's just not acceptable.
But
And
you're in sobriety. I mean, to me, chronic pain, chronic issues, physical discomfort, I mean, to me, that's a threat to my sobriety. I mean, again, I was thinking when you were
100%.
talking about, yeah, when you were talking about going outside and like, because sometimes it could look like you have pink eye and then people don't want to be around you. I mean, there's all this
Yep.
explaining, there's a preoccupation. You have 8 children, you're going to the school all the time. I mean, it could affect you so many ways.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the other thing too, is that I didn't even tell you this part yet. This is
God.
great. Okay. So I didn't, I sort of, I glazed over a part of the story at the beginning. But when I said that they found foreign bodies in my eyes, or my eye, that was causing me all that distress, what it ended up being was 14 contact lenses.
Right.
14, 1 4, which sounds insane, right? Because it's like, how do you not know you didn't take your contact out? Well, I can tell you exactly how I didn't know. Like,
Right.
I've been a daily contact lens wearer for a long time, like for a decade. Prior
Right.
to that, I think it was every week, every Friday, I got a new pair.
Right.
Like, so I'd been wearing contact lenses for a long
Forever.
time.
Yep.
I now know that if one is uncomfortable, it means it's ill-fitting.
Right.
Nobody told me that. Okay, maybe I should have looked into that for myself, but I don't know. I was pregnant, having kids. There were bigger
Yeah.
pain things going on with my body than that.
Yes.
So, bottom line is, I now know also that the cornea becomes desensitized over time to a contact lens. So, if I'm getting ready at night, my kids are in here, they're talking to me. I'm like, did I take it out? Did I not take it out? What's happening? Like, I can see how it happened, okay?
Absolutely.
And I have really deep set eyes. So these puppies were wedged back in there, just trying to get out, which is why all this gross mucus was like pouring out of my eye, and it kept getting worse. So, I just really, I, I'm a little bit dumbfounded, I think, in hindsight, that this doctor got to sort of be the hero at the end of this whole journey and just be like, I found the problem. And it's like, you did, but you didn't. Because
Right.
really, my husband found the problem.
Right.
And I shouldn't even be here.
Right.
Like, I shouldn't be here.
Right.
Really, I should have, all the people that I saw in Seattle should have looked in my eye, should have done a deep dive and really made sure there was nothing causing it. And no one
Yes.
did.
Right.
And I think it's just, it is now very troubling for me. I'm in this weird space where
Yes.
I'm like, what's it going to be like next time? And as a patient, look, all I can do is be myself. And I'm not a very pushy person, generally speaking. And so I really don't want to adopt some mentality that's not me and mask
Right.
and just kind of get into this like, something's wrong, you need to fix it, I'm going to be riding your ass until you fix this. That's not me either. I really try to see the humanity of another person, including a physician.
Right.
And I don't have white coat syndrome or anything where I'm scared of doctors, but I do feel like they're probably lied to a lot. They're probably disrespected a lot, and I'm not going to be that person. However, I
Yes.
deserve to get the help that I need, right? To, get over this thing. So I'm not coming in here. I mean, I am not the kind of person who wants to go, nor do I have time to be going to the doctor
my
all the
gosh.
time. And that should be obvious. But it's sort of odd when you just feel like you're not taken seriously. It's
Right.
very disconcerting. And I
Yeah.
don't know what to do about it because it's like, this isn't even like insurance covering, care. This is like you're paying above and beyond, you're paying out of pocket. So if that's the kind of care that I'm getting,
Oh my
paying out of
gosh.
pocket, I shudder to think what it's like sort of without that.
Right.
Um, I think it did help. Like I talked to my psychiatrist after, and I told her all of this, and
Yeah.
she was just like, that was not okay. And she
Right.
goes, I want you to know you were traumatized, small t, like traumatized. She goes, don't think that you weren't because you definitely were. And it was just nice that someone validated, like, you shouldn't have gone through all that. Like, that never should
Absolutely.
have happened,
Absolutely.
So,
It's so interesting because I have a 25-year-old and I have told your story to probably 10 people because it really affected me and what you went through and why and the shock really that the medical community is still. I think I had a fantasy, kind of like a fantasy in politics, like everybody feels this way. And I didn't really get that it was still this way. And he said to me that most of his female friends in their 20s, like, don't trust doctors at all. Like, I
wow.
mean, it's fascinating because we were brought up that they're like these gods and we don't have to, we
Right.
don't get opinions and all this stuff. And it's really swung the opposite for a lot of younger folks
Interesting.
because they know more about what's gone on and who they are and their
Sure.
and the where their places are as women in the culture and all this. It was just really fascinating. And the thing about when you're talking about, and this is maybe we can get this is how we'll wrap up really, talking about what we can do. And when you say, I'm not someone that's really pushy or goes, absolutely me either. I mean, we're brought up, as women in the culture to be kind, to put other people first, to take care of others, to people please, to be good managers, all these, to dismiss ourselves and care for other people's feelings, all of this stuff. So if you put that into a medical environment, those same parts of our personalities are going to come up. And when you're saying like I feel all the same way. I want to respect people. I don't want to get upset with people. I want to
Right.
treat them. So it's really though the both and, right?
Right.
Meaning
Yes. Yes.
it's, the doctor can have his own psychology, his own pain, his own, experience with patients that have dismissed him. All that's true. And we have similar. I mean, we've had our own histories we're bringing to the party, right? So we
Yes.
both have these experiences. We both have been hurt, dismissed, not listened to.
That's a
The
good point.
difference is that it's really this person's job and we're paying them to give us answers. So,
Right. Yeah.
the thing is, and I also think this piece, that very often we think, and this is kind of a classic in feminist writing, right? If we ask for what we need, if we're just firm and not people pleasing, that we're a bitch, or
Right.
we're just angry.
Right.
And now I'm an angry feminist. And the thing is, it's like we can set limits, ask for what we need, be persistent, care about ourselves enough to try to get solutions without being mean. I mean, that's the
Right.
thing that's so fascinating about setting boundaries. I'll often hear a patient say, oh, no, I could never do that. That's mean. And I'll say, asking for what you want is mean? And yet, in their upbringing, in females' upbringing, very often, if we speak up to someone or we ask for something to be met, or if we ask for something not to happen, I mean, that's what boundaries are, right? We're expressing
Right.
what we want to happen and what we don't want to happen. And
Right.
so for some reason, though, when we do that, and I'm not sure if the male experiences it this way, but we feel like, oh my God, that's too much. That's not
Right.
fair. That's not fair.
Yeah.
Or we feel guilty. And, you know, I don't know if you ever heard of Cloud and Townsend. They're actually Christian.
Oh yeah, boundaries.
Yeah, boundaries. And they have a great line in that book, which is, if you feel guilty after you set a boundary, you should, because you've never done it. And
Yeah.
it's like, so of course you're going to feel guilty. That's going
Yeah.
to naturally happen. This is a new behavior. And
Yes.
so I was just thinking about, if we're brought up to be codependent, and part of our job, especially magnified in this situation, is to speak up for ourselves and ask for what we need, it's gonna be harder, because it's not just speaking up to the Starbucks person who made our coffee wrong. It's speaking up to an authority figure who we may be intimidated by. And
100%.
yeah. So speaking up, like you wrote this great sheet that I printed out, asking questions and not feeling like you're burdening people. That's another thing women do. Oh, I don't want to burden them. And yet
Right.
again, just to remind yourself, this is their job,
Right.
right? I'm paying them. Like you said, I'm paying them for answers. The
Yeah.
other thing I think is, what happens is we start doubting ourselves. So
Right,
they'll
absolutely.
throw out like, oh, well, maybe it's in your head, or are you sure that's happening? And we will immediately go to, maybe they're right. And it's that, like you just said, listening to that quiet voice that really knows that it's not okay. So
Right.
a big part of it is trusting ourselves. And then
Well-
lastly, it's that whole thing about tolerating uncomfortable feelings, which is the bottom line in addiction recovery and codependency
Yes.
recovery, that if someone doesn't like what we're doing, it's okay.
Yeah.
They don't have to like it.
Right. Absolutely.
And they can even
Well-
get upset if we call for the 5th time. But we have a right. And, you know,
Yes.
one thing you just said that I was thinking about is, if it feels like someone's not listening, we can actually say, hey, you know, I'm not sure if this is a good match. Like, I don't know if you believe what I'm saying, but are you hearing me? Like, are you taking me seriously? Because I do think, and I had a narcissistic dad, so I got brilliant at this, questioning them and their like commitment to us literally snaps them out of it, because we're acknowledging kind of the underlying truth, and they don't
Yeah.
want to look bad. And so it's trying some kind of different strategies around getting our needs met. Okay, I was on the soapbox.
No, you said so much amazing stuff that's so helpful. Because the other thing that I thought of when you were talking is how when I got back here, I was at a meeting maybe 2 weeks later, and I'd been kind of talking about this in meetings and stuff. Okay, so this older gentleman came up to me after I shared about the update. And he said, oh my gosh, you know, you had all those contacts in your eye. He goes, do you feel dumb?
Oh God.
And I'm like, okay, so thankfully I chose not to like rip him a new one or anything. But I go, you know what, Jean? No, I don't at all, because it's not my job. It's not my job to know that there's a bunch of contact lenses that have wedged themselves like way in the back of my cornea. But it is the job of those like 5 people who never checked.
Good girl.
It's their job. They went to medical school. I didn't. I don't know anything about eyes except what I was trained to do with how to be hygienic with my contacts and how to, you know, notice when something's off.
Yes.
That's it. And so he kind of, it sort of put him on his back foot, Dr. Sarah. Like he was just like, oh, yeah. But it was funny because, I mean, I don't think he meant anything, you know,
Right.
rude by it, but I think he just didn't think like, oh yeah, it's not
That's
your
right.
job.
That's right.
So I just think, you know, I think it's very interesting. And I think it's I love that we have touched on it today because it's such a huge topic.
Yes.
I mean, I know we're trying to wrap up, but I wanted to say real quick that,
Yeah.
and I think you probably have seen this case because it's Massachusetts, but the Lindsay Clancy case, the woman who ended the life of 3 of her kids and tried to end hers, and that whole thing, and like that whole postpartum psychosis,
Yes.
totally for another episode, but like
Right.
that bothers me so much that you can even be in the medical community and feel a measure of shame about asking for help, feeling like it's kind of not working, and then you don't have the wherewithal. I'm not saying she has it for sure, and I don't know. We don't know. I don't know enough information, but I'm
No.
just saying if that were the case, I think it's just really difficult, especially when you have, you know, a bunch of hormones drop right after you've had a baby and through that first year and you're not sleeping. And I
Everything.
think it's just really tough to be able to trust, you know, your brain, and you really need people to come alongside you, you know, and just help. And it's difficult because of the amount of shame, you know, that tends to go with those kinds of things. And I have a heart for, you know, people who are marginalized for whatever reason.
Yes.
And I think I don't ever put myself in that category ever. And I feel like this book really showed me that I should. I mean, there's a lot of evidence that shows we are marginalized as women, and I don't think that we are as a natural. I'm like, oh no, certainly not. It's 2026. And nope.
It's so great because the whole thing around hormones. I mean, when we started reading this book, of course, the first couple of chapters are all about research and how women are never in research. And part of the reason for that is because they literally say, researchers literally say, women are too complicated with that hormone stuff. And she gave quotes around that. So because they can't measure for, or like, you know, what's the word when you measure, you take that variable out or whatever, it's just too tricky for that. So basically, women aren't involved in a huge part of research studies, and the male body, this kills me. The male body is used as the sample. So anything that happens with the male body in a research study is then generalized to women. So they talked about drug trials, dosages, all this stuff. You can have a dose for a 250-pound male in a depression study, and then it's going to be applied to a woman at 115 pounds with the same dosage. It's so insane. And yet this is going on still constantly. And even this researcher who wanted to do some menopause research, I know what it was about. The original research, and now I'm going to blank, they discovered, what's
Viagra?
the hard-on drug.
Yeah, Viagra.
Viagra. Yeah, they discovered that by accident trying to test for something else. Yeah. And then when they applied to try to get it for for like women, I can't remember if it was PMS or something, they couldn't get the money for it. Because so, I mean, it's just everywhere. And lastly, we were talking before the show about all the other arenas that are affected. Like it blew my mind when they were talking about engineers and design and the design of supermarkets, and the shelves and the height are based on men. And yet women do most of the shopping, or cars, seat belts. They were even giving examples of bulletproof vests. And I mean, all these things, keyboards on a piano were based on men's hand size. I mean, it's like, I just didn't think of all this. And so it's fascinating and disturbing. And also having this awareness can give you some power in your choices, in your asking questions. And so much to talk about. And also just leave chats. Like if you've had some experiences with the medical community and felt dismissed, give us your experiences in the chat after listening, because we'd love to hear from you. That'd be great also. Yeah.
Oh, it would be wonderful. And I think it's empowering to always just be reminded that, it's not just me. I'm not alone. It's so, I mean, that's how it works, right? Is we connect, we share our stories, and, then we can come alongside each other and just go, it's not just you. I've been dismissed too. And, it stinks. And I think the biggest part is just bringing the awareness forward that, like, I mean, this is not acceptable. Right. And so whatever tools that we feel like, suit our personality or whatever to move forward, that's what we need to do. Like, one thing that I need to do is I've decided I'm going to write a letter to all those different doctors just to let them know the outcome of my situation, so that the next person who comes along, maybe they will look in their eye more completely.
Oh my God, it's a total tangent. And my son is taking this welding course. They offer a lot of free courses in Massachusetts anyways. One of the movies recently at the welding course was about how the eye doesn't have has a very few pain sensors. Because they showed this movie where someone put the welding gun in their eye and they didn't have any negative response. They didn't even feel it. So it made me think of you, because I was like, I mean, I wore contacts for years, and I've had times where I had a couple in there, I didn't even know it. Like suddenly I'd be like, oh, what is that? But the whole eye piece too is a unique situation as far as pain. That was the other thing I was thinking. Yeah. So anyways, God, I love you. I love having these conversations. And and we just want to validate all of you if you feel invisible ever, especially in the medical community, you are not alone. And finding our voices and speaking up for ourselves is so critical.
And it's not in your head.
It's not in your head. Another epic boozeless book club.
Yeah.
Check us out.
I love you so much. Thanks, Dr. Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to Eternally Amy, a mum of eight's journey from jail to joy. Amy Liz Harrison is a best-selling author, speaker, 12-step coach, meditation teacher, and recovery advocate. To find out more, please visit amylizharrison.com. You can keep up with Amy on all platforms by following @AmyLizHarrison. Please subscribe and review this podcast. It means so much to us if you do.